Aloha kako, how you folks doing? In this video, I will be talking about the Princess Kaiulani. This is the story of Princess Kaiulani. So let's get started. Showing the picture of her now. Beautiful woman. Victoria Kavekiu Kaiulani Lunalilo Kalani Niu Ahi Lapa Lapa Cleghorn. Born October 16, 1875. And she died on March 6, 1899. She was very young when she passed away. Her primary Hawaiian name comes from Kaiulani, which means the highest point of heaven, or the royal sacred one in the Hawaiian language. Now, she was the only child of Princess Miriam Likelike and the last heir apparent to the throne of the Hawaiian kingdom. Showing a picture now of her mother, Miriam Likelike. Now, through her mother, she descended from Kavea Ayulu and Kameamoku, the royal consorts of Kamehameha I during his conquest of the Hawaiian Islands from 1780 to 1795. Now, she was the niece of King Kalakaua and Queen Liliuokalani. Now, I'm showing pictures now of Kaiulani when she was a young woman, growing up. More pictures of her. Very beautiful woman. Her dad was Archibald Scott Cleghorn, Scottish man. Now more pictures of her. Now she lived in Hanau, that was her home, and she loved peacocks. The poem shows the peacocks in the front. She loved peacocks. Now Princess Kaiulani was sent to Europe at age 13 to complete her education under the guardianship of British businessman and Hawaiian sugar investor Theo H. Davies. He was one of the big five in Hawaii, Theo Davies. Now, she had not yet reached her 18th birthday when the 1893 overthrow of the Hawaiian kingdom altered her life. The Committee of Safety rejected proposals from both her father, Archibald Scott Cleghorn, and the Provisional President, Sanford B. Dole, to seat Kaiulani on the throne, conditional upon the abdication of Liliuokalani. I'm going to show you more pictures of her now. And there's a picture of her showing her with Liliuokalani mourning at the lowering of the Hawaiian flag. That was during the overthrow. Now, upon the death of her mother, Likelike, Kaiulani became second in line to the throne. Following her aunt, Liliuokalani, she would become the heir apparent after the death of her uncle Kalakaua and the accession of Liliuokalani. Now, showing more pictures of her. In 1889, it was deemed appropriate to send Kaiulani to England for proper education and remove her from the intrigues and unrest between Kalakaua and his political opponents. And shows the more pictures of her. By September, Kaiulani and Annie were sent to Northamptonshire and enrolled at Great Harrowden Hall, a boarding school for young girls, under the elderly schoolmistress Caroline Sharp. After the first academic year, Annie returned to Hawaii to marry, leaving Kaiulani alone at the school. Sharp noted that Kaiulani continued making good progress in her studies, despite the separation. Kaiulani proudly wrote home that she was third in the French class. She was a smart girl. Showing more pictures of her now. Now, the Bishop of Leicester confirmed her in the Anglican faith in May of 1890. In the summer of 1891, her father visited her, and they toured the British Isles and visited the Cleghorns' ancestral land in Scotland. Showing more pictures of her now. Now Davies persuaded her family to remove Ka'iolani from Great Harrowden Hall in early 1892 to attend a finishing school to prepare her for society. Now by February, Ka'iolani moved to Hove, Brighton, where she was placed in the care of Phoebe Rook, who set up private tutors and a curriculum that included German, French, English, literature, history, music, and singing. This village by the sea pleased her, and she holidayed in late April and early May at St. Helier in the Channel Island of Jersey with her host. And so, more pictures of her, princess. Now the prospect of her returning to Hawaii renewed her enthusiasm for her studies. Plans were made for her to return to Hawaii by the end of 1893, with the Hawaiian legislature appropriating $4,000 for her travel expenses. Now this trip would mark her entrance in society as the heir apparent to the throne. I'll show you more pictures of her now. As heir apparent, Ka'iolani had influence with the Queen on political issues. In the fall of 1891, she wrote to Liliuokalani requesting the appointment of her father instead of Prince David Kawananakoa to the recently vacated governorship of Oahu, caused by the death of Liliuokalani's husband, John Owen Domness. The Queen acceded to her request and made the appointment of Cleghorn on November 11. Now, during her absence, much turmoil occurred back in Hawaii. Kalakaua died in San Francisco. He was ill health. He went to San Francisco and he never returned to Hawaii. He died on January 20th, 1891. Ka'iolani learned of Uncle's death by the next day through the transatlantic telegraph cables, while news did not reach Hawaii until January 29th, when the Charleston returned to Honolulu with the king's remains. Liliuokalani ascended immediately to the throne. Now, at that time, Liliuokalani appointed her niece, Ka'iolani, as her heir apparent and eventual successor to the throne. The Queen's staff then rode through the streets of Honolulu announcing their proclamation with gun salutes, and were fired from both the artillery battery and the American vessels Mohican and Iroquois in Honolulu Harbor. Now, Ka'iolani, looking forward to her return, promised, "When I come home, I shall try to help you as much as I can, though it will not be as much as I don't understand state affairs." And that's what she said. Now, the Committee of Safety, under the leadership of Thurston, met for 2 days in the final planning of the overthrow, and unanimously selected Sanford B. Dole to lead the coup and organize a provisional government. Dole put forth what he believed was a major reasonable immediate plan of action, a possible outcome that had been discussed by others in the kingdom: that the queen be deposed and Princess Ka'iolani be installed as queen, and that a regency be established to govern the country during her minority. In fact, Cleghorn, her dad, had also directly approached Thurston the morning before the overthrow with the exact same proposition. Thurston reiterated what he had already told Cleghorn, that the committee had no interest in dealing with a future monarchy in any form, and rejected the plan. Thurston was only interested in annexation of Hawaii. That's basically why he rejected it. The provisional government's ultimate goal is annexation by the United States. Thurston headed a delegation to Washington, D.C. to negotiate with President Benjamin Harrison, while the Queen sent her attorney, Paul Newman, and Prince Kawanakakoa to represent her case to Harrison and President-elect Grover Cleveland. Now, Edward C. McFarland, another of the Queen's envoys to protect the rights of Hau'oli, the annexation treaty would have offered Liliuokalani a lifetime pension of $20,000 annually and compensated Hau'oli with a one-time settlement of $150,000 if they would subordinate themselves to the United States government and to local governance of the islands. The Queen never saw that as a viable option. Now, many factions in Hawaii and abroad preferred restoring Hau'oli to the Hawaiian throne in place of Liliuokalani under a more restricted form of constitutional monarchy. James Hay Woodhouse, the British Commissioner to Hawaii, reported to his superior in London that the natives would support and welcome Hau'oli as queen. Now, Charles Reed Bishop, the widower of the High Chiefess Bernice Pauahi Bishop, wrote that the better class of the British prefer her, and they would help to control her and make as good a government as possible. Though the leader of the provisional government had stated that it would have been far more tactful to hold the power of the throne through regency in the name of the young Princess Hau'oli until she reaches her majority. So, showing a picture of Charles Reed Bishop. Now, Hau'oli learned of the overthrow via a short telegram received by Davies on January 30th. It said, quote, "Queen deposed," unquote, "monarchy abrogated, break news to the princess." That's how she found out. Now, Hau'oli, accompanied by Mr. and Mrs. Davies, their daughter Alice Davies, Annie Warthoff, as her lady-in-waiting and a chaperone, and a maid of Mrs. Davies, traveled from Southampton to New York, arriving on March 1st. Now, McFarland and Maud Smith met the party on their ship. Upon landing on the pier, Hau'oli delivered to the assembled press and curious onlookers a speech written by Davies. Now, this is the actual speech that she delivered at that time. And here it goes. 70 years ago, Christian America sent over Christian men and women to give religion and civilization to Hawaii. She's talking about the missionaries now. Today, 3 of the sons of those missionaries are at your capital asking you to undo their father's work. Who sent them? Who gave them the authority to break the Constitution which they swore they would uphold? Today I, a poor, weak girl with not one of my people with me, and all these Hawaiian statesmen against me, have strength to stand up for the rights of my people. Even now I can hear their wail in my heart, and it gives me strength and courage, and I am strong. Strong in the faith of God, strong in the knowledge that I am right. Strong in the strength of 70 million people, who in this free land will hear my cry, and will refuse to let their flag cover dishonor to mine. That is a speech that she delivered at that time. Now, on March 13, President and First Lady Frances Cleveland received Hau'oli at the White House. Her traveling companion, Alice, recalled, "We were received by President and Mrs. Cleveland, and we had a short interview where all references to our mission were clearly avoided." So, now she was a young woman showing pictures of her again. From August 1895 to October 1897, she and her father assumed the lives of itinerant aristocrats traveling across Europe and the British Isles. They stayed in the French Riviera, Paris, and the island of Jersey, as well as England and Scotland. Hau'oli was treated as royalty in the French Riviera, where they wintered each year and made friends, including Nevinson, William de Councey, and a British aristocrat who corresponded with her over the next 3 years and saved their letters until his death. So, now, during these years, Hau'oli began to have recurring illnesses, writing her aunt Liliuokalani that she'd had the grippe or influenza 7 times while living aboard. She also complained of headaches, weight loss, eye problems, and fainting spells. She wasn't feeling too well. Her health was deteriorating. Now, Hau'oli felt duty-bound to her family in Hawaii, especially her ailing aunt, the Dowager Queen Kapiolani. However, the princess was wary of her uncertain future as a former royal and was reluctant to accept the prospect of an arranged marriage back home. She was also growing accustomed to life abroad. Now, during her misgivings, a changing political situation in Hawaii called her home in 1897. On June 16, President Cleveland's successor, President William McKinley, presented the United States Senate with a new version of the Annexation Treaty to incorporate the Republic of Hawaii into the United States. President McKinley was in favor of annexation because at that time, remember, there was the Spanish-American War, and Pearl Harbor was a very strategic location in the Pacific, especially because of Spain had control of the Philippines, and so he was pushing for President William McKinley was pushing for annexation, basically. Liliuokalani filed an official protest with Secretary of State John Sherman. Hawaiians against annexation coalesced, including the political entity Hui Kalai'ana Aina, which ran petition drives to oppose annexation. Hau'oli traveled to the Parker Ranch at Waimea on the island of Hawaii on December 6, 1898. The ranch owner, Samuel Parker, had served on Kalakaua's Privy Council and was Liliuokalani's Minister of Foreign Affairs when the monarchy was overthrown. Hau'oli attended the December 14th wedding of Parker's daughter, who was her childhood friend, Eva, to Frank Woods, and stayed for Christmas festivities. Now, however, Hau'oli was still frail. Her health was failing, and her illness lingered. A petition to President William McKinley and Congress urging the United States to grant the Princess a pension was being circulated for signatures. In reality, she was still gravely ill, and Cleghorn brought her back to Hanau on February 9th on the steamship Mauna Loa. She was so ill she had to be carried on a stretcher. Walter said it was inflammatory rheumatism. He later added she also had an exophthalmic goiter. Hau'oli died of inflammatory rheumatism at her home at Hanau on Monday, March 6, 1899, at the age of 23. So young and so sad. Later, George W. McFarland, a family friend and King Kalakaua's Chamberlain, told a reporter from the San Francisco called that the princess possibly died of a broken heart. She probably did. The Republic of Hawaii government government put all its resources at the family's disposal and gave her a state funeral on March 12th. She lay in state at Kauai Church until her final service. These are the final pictures I'll show you of Princess Kaiulani. So sad, she died such a young woman, and she's so smart. Well, I hope you folks enjoyed this video of Princess Kaiulani, and mahalo for watching. Ahui ho.